Hello and welcome back to the Damon Rowan podcast. I'm Damon Rowan and this week's podcast episode is going to be covering everything sleep related, from its importance to recovery, building muscle, losing fat, regulating your mood, improving your willpower, and I'm also going to be going over a few tips and tricks you can use to up your sleep quality and improve your performance. So starting right into it, sleep is one of the most important parts of keeping a balance in your health, fitness and lifestyle in general, and although it's so important, it's often one of the most overlooked parts of leading a healthy lifestyle, as it's usually only really when people have most of their health and fitness goals down in terms of being consistent with things like training, nutrition, mindset and so on, that they start putting the pieces together on what's going to take them to the next level, and that's where sleep comes in. And when you put it into perspective, it actually makes a lot of sense in how sleep can be so important in being healthy and fit, because when you're consistently exerting yourself each week with work, training, running, cycling, and whatever else your fitness routine and movement in general consists of, you need to have the aspects that allow you to recharge and rebuild yourself held to a good standard too, so you can keep up and don't allow yourself to burn out. Now, of course, sleep isn't the only recovery method, as there's things like stretching, foam rolling, physio, and other things and so on. And I was going to include these in today's podcast on recovery until I realised how much I had to cover on the importance of sleep alone. So I'll be doing the recovery methods in another podcast, and today is going to be on sleep. So getting into the importance of sleep, as I mentioned, sleep is how your body rebuilds and repairs itself, and that importance only becomes more emphasised the more active you are as a person. Now, some of you might be thinking you can get away with less sleep without it affecting you all that much, and that's fairly context dependent on who you are and your situation. Like, younger people in general can get away with less sleep and poorer sleep quality. Like, I remember when in college, it wasn't uncommon to be out until 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, and then be in the gym or at lectures at 9 and 10 in the morning, and that'd be just standard week in and week out. And you'll also hear people downplaying the importance of sleep. I remember watching a motivational video of Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about how he gets so much done and saying he only needs to sleep 6 hours every night, and that if people wanted to get more out of what they were doing, then they'd just have to sleep faster. Now, obviously, he's more so the exception than the rule, but still the point I'm getting at is the importance of sleep both in our own and others' lives is often overlooked. So just to give an example and a bit of insight into the importance of sleep, there was actually this study that was conducted that I'll leave a link for in the podcast notes if you'd like to check it out for yourself, because it's actually fairly interesting, where basically the study was to test the effects of strength and muscle mass on the people who had poorer sleep, so about 6 hours or less, and people who slept longer with an improved quality of sleep, so about 8 hours or so. And they tested about 10,000 people and found that people with poorer sleep on average lost twice as much muscle mass and muscle strength as the people who had good sleep. And what's more is that they found the group with poorer sleep on average only lost half as much fat as the group with good sleep. So putting that into perspective, say if you and your friend trained the same or trained together and you were doing the same things in relation to your health and fitness, with the only different factor being your sleep, in that you were getting worse sleep and they were getting better, in about 8 or 12 weeks they'd be very noticeably ahead of you in terms of strength, muscle mass and body fat levels. Now, aside from just talking about that study, there's also good reasons as to why to get good sleep is important for your performance in general, as people who get better sleep on average have more strength, less inflammation and soreness, and as well as that, your cognitive performance is a lot better, so things like your mood is much better regulated, you'll likely be less anxious and more happy. You can go into things like how much willpower you have throughout the day to stay on track, not going crazy on snacking on things and cheap meals, sticking to your fitness routine, and you'll just be better at thinking and making better decisions for yourself and feeling a lot better in general. Whereas on the other hand, studies have shown that even one bad night's sleep can affect things like regulating your hormones, which of course plays into your mood, and it's shown to lower testosterone in men, and it raises inflammation levels across the board. So you'll probably have noticed you feel stiff and have aches after poor sleep, and sleep deprived people often just feel hungrier because they have more cravings, because the hormone ghrelin is produced more, which is essentially the hormone that tells your brain that you're hungry. So there's a lot of negative downsides to getting poor sleep as well. Now, I could go on all day about the negative effects of bad sleep and the positive effects of good sleep, but in reality, no matter how convinced or invested you can become on getting a good sleep and prioritising it, it's just not ethically or realistically possible to get in a good sleep every night no matter what, because most people have jobs, children, and a list of other priorities that they need to tend to on a daily basis, and that's where getting good sleep can often take a back seat because of this. So instead of just telling you get 8 or 9 hours of sleep each night, which I'm sure we'd all love in an ideal world, I'm just going to go over a few different things that you can help improve your sleep and sleep quality, and hopefully after listening to this you can apply a few in getting the best out of your sleep and subsequently your performance from day to day as a result. So the first way to improve your sleep is to get more sunlight during the day. So you're probably thinking why getting sunlight has anything to do with sleep, and this is because your body has what's called a circadian rhythm, and what this is basically means your body senses when you get sunlight And the first sunlight you get every day flips the switch in your body and telling you that it's time to wake up, get up and start doing things. While on the other hand, lack of light and lack of daylight tells your body it's time to wind down and go to sleep. So a good practice for this is within the first hour of waking up, try to get outside and get sunlight to give your body that indicator that it's time to wake up. Now, a lot of people actually do this intuitively, even without thinking or knowing about circadian rhythms, as it's often a natural instinct. You want to go outside in sunlight after waking up and go for a walk or whatever you'd like to do. And once you have this initial bit of sunlight in the morning, try to keep that up throughout the day, because the more you get, the more you feel better as a result. And say if you're in a workplace, in an office or a warehouse or whatever that has a lot of fluorescent lights and not many windows, try to make an effort just to go to windows every now and then or go outside during your lunch break, as it shows that more sunlight during the day helps to better regulate your sleep quality and ability to sleep faster. Now, the second one is to go to bed and wake up at the same times every day. So this point kind of feeds off the last one in that what I was saying about circadian rhythms, in that our bodies have an internal clock that gets used to when we naturally wake up and when we go to bed, and it develops a rhythm and routine around that. So during the week, you're naturally locked into that. If you have work at the same time each morning, you'll have to get up at the same time. So for most of the week, the work is done for you in keeping this up. However, it's usually at the weekends or nights where you know you have the next day off that people tend to slack off in this, because they know they can afford to stay up later or lie in the next morning. Now, I know for most people, it's nice to be able to relax that bit more and getting to do this, and you can stay up and watch a movie or organise a night out or whatever you like to do, and that's completely fine. If it works for you, then keep at it. I'm just offering this as a tip and suggestion if you think you'd benefit from it, as it'll keep you on track with your sleep, your REM cycles, your sleep quality, and obviously you're getting that improved mental and physical performance off the back of that. So if you think it could be worth doing, try it out. Now, the third tip that I'm going to make on improving your sleep quality is to reduce or remove as much light as possible at night before bed. So for this, try and make sure you're getting the nighttime part of your circadian rhythm right. So when it's near time to go to bed, about 1 or 2 hours before bed, try to limit your exposure to bright lights of any form. So things like your phone, the TV, lighting in general, and basically all sources of light at night that's telling your brain that it's still daytime and that you should be awake. And the way it affects your sleep is not only in that it makes it harder for you to fall asleep in the first place, which can obviously lead to a lot more tossing and turning for a good while before eventually falling asleep, but also when you do fall asleep, it makes it more difficult for your brain to drop into those REM cycles. That is the deeper part of sleep that helps your body and mind to recover at its best. So if you're exposing yourself to a lot of light in or around bedtime, you're likely going to have a worsened quality of sleep as a result. So for this, try to cut out or at least reduce the amount of light exposure you experience around bedtime. Now, there is one option that I'll offer in reducing light exposure and how you can still somewhat get away with screens at night without having as much of an effect on your sleep, and that is blue light blocking glasses. So the first people I heard talking about these were Tim Ferriss and Brian Keane. If you don't know those two, I'd recommend checking them out and their podcast, because you'll learn a lot from them. But when I initially heard of them, I thought they were some type of gimmick until I read into them. So blue light is the light that is transmitted from things like phones, TV screens, and lighting in general. And when your eyes pick up on that, it affects the melatonin production in your brain, which is a hormone that affects sleep and sleep quality. So if you're taking in blue light, you're going to have your sleep affected negatively, but if you're not taking it in, or at least not taking in as much by wearing blue light blocking glasses, then your sleep quality is going to improve as a result. Now, with that said, by no means am I saying wearing blue light blocking glasses is the absolute solution to bypassing light exposure and still getting a great quality of sleep, as in an ideal world you should still try to reduce and eventually block out as many forms, if not all forms of light exposure when you're going to bed, as it can improve your sleep and sleep quality overall. Like, I know it can be hard to put your phone down at night when you're doing nothing else or watching TV in bed or whatever, as I'm notoriously bad at leaving my phone down myself at night, but I'm just offering this as a way of reducing the amount of blue light you take in before bed, as I've noticed blue light blocking glasses are actually quite effective at doing this. But if you can do one better than that, try reading a book at night or even listen to a podcast or music on your phone so you're not looking at the screen, and trying to apply some of that or all of that is going to help improving your quality of sleep overall. Now, the next tip, the fourth one, is sleeping in a dark room. So this kind of rolls off the last one in reducing the amount of light you're exposed to in and around bedtime. So by sleeping in a completely dark room where there's no phone lights or TV lights, lighting in general, and your room is basically as pitch black as you can get it, it's going to help improving your quality of sleep, because again, you're reducing the amount of light you're taking in, and your body and mind responds to that by winding down faster and easier, and then you can get deeper sleep as a result of that. So here there's a few things that you can do to help with this, like leaving your phone outside your room, or at least charging on the other side of the room so that you're not tempted to look at it until the next morning. And this of course extends to like not turning on your TV or things like that when you're in bed. And you can also get blackout curtains or blinds too, as they're very effective in blocking out light, and particularly during the summer when it tends to be brighter in the mornings and late evenings. By having blackout curtains or blinds, you'll be able to have a much darker room and get a better, deeper quality of sleep off of that. And getting on to the fifth point on how to improve your sleep quality is to not eat 2 to 3 hours before bed. So eating before sleep can actually reduce the quality of sleep you get, and although a lot of people say they can get away with having food right before bed and sleep fine, for the general population and most people, having food before bed is actually going to affect your sleep quality negatively. Now this is because around bedtime your body is beginning to wind down and your metabolism slows down, you're becoming drowsy, and you're just slowing down and winding down in general. So here, if you eat food, especially if it's something like high in carbs or high in sugar that can spike your insulin levels, you'll likely get a boost of energy that can be taking you out of that drowsy state and winding down, and that's going to delay the process of winding down and becoming tired again. Along with this, you're going to be making your metabolism and digestive system going again, and that's bad before bed because it can obviously lead to maybe an upset stomach or something when you go to bed. And there's also studies showing that not eating 2 or 3 hours before bed helps with regulating your hormones, reducing stress, reducing inflammation, while also improving your digestive system's performance and fat loss in general. And the sixth and final tip for improving your sleep quality is to sleep in a cool room. So sleeping in a cool room has also shown to improve sleep quality because your body's core temperature is lower. So with this, your body's heat is keeping a nice consistent temperature and isn't becoming too uncomfortably hot or cold. Because of that, you're able to sink into a deeper sleep and achieve a better quality of sleep off the back of that. So here there's a few things that you can do, like keeping the window open during the night, or fan on, or air conditioning on if you can, especially nowadays when it's that bit more humid and hot at night. And obviously in the winter it's naturally going to be that bit cooler, so you might not need to do anything to get the right amount of coolness in your room. And basically getting your body to achieve that like consistent heat throughout the night is going to help you in keeping that deep sleep. That's going to help you get a better recovery and better performance out of yourself because of the better quality of sleep you're achieving as a result of it. And there's also one final thing that I see recommended a lot, and I'll mention it here, is that it's called the Chili Pad, and basically what it is a product that helps you keep a consistent body temperature throughout the night. So I heard this repeatedly recommended on the Tim Ferriss podcast, in that a lot of the world's top performers in different fields find this to be one of the best investments they've made in improving their quality of sleep and performance. And what it is basically a pad that's fitted in your bed similar to an electric blanket, except you can control the exact heat it emits, and it allows you to keep your bed cool or warm depending on the time of the year, depending on what you want to do with it. So it's helpful for hot times of the year when you want that bit cooler, and cooler times of the year when you want it that bit hotter. Now, this all said, it's definitely an investment. It costs quite a bit. It's about 450, maybe €500 for one. I haven't actually bought or tried one myself, but I can see that the reviews are fairly consistent in that they say it's fairly overwhelmingly positive reviews, and that's definitely something we're looking into in the future. But that said, it is a big investment, so depending on how much you want to up your sleep quality and bring it to the next level, that could be one that's worth looking into. And that essentially brings me to the end of the podcast. That's the 6 points for improving your sleep: is getting more sunlight during the day, going to bed and waking up at the same times every day, reducing or removing the amount of light as you receive, or light you're exposed to on before bed, sleeping in a dark bedroom, not eating 2 or 3 hours before bed, and finally sleeping in a cool room. And that wraps up everything that I wanted to cover on the importance of sleep and how to improve it. And if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to give it a like, give it a share to anyone you feel to get value out of it, and I will catch you next Wednesday for another podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.